Brought to you by the Every Dollar app. Start budgeting for free today.
I need some advice. We're going to tread a little bit carefully because I am trying my best to thread the needle with my mother-in-law. She keeps giving financial and career advice to my family, specifically my wife, that do not work for our family situation and really do not work in 2024.
So, James, you do not have a problem with your mother-in-law. She is your proxy war. You have a problem with your wife.
I would think that you are probably correct. I am worried that my wife is going to listen to her mother. My mother-in-law was able to raise 4 children in the Midwest through the 80s and 90s without working. She, I don't believe, has ever worked a 40-hour-a-week job in her life. She couple of days, helping out at this nursery school, couple of days here.
So what do you disagree on with your mother-in-law? What does she want your wife to do?
Stay at home?
Well, yes. Basically, all of the advice that she's giving involve things around, we have 2 children under 6, and it's comments along the lines of, when both the kids are out of daycare, my wife works as a daycare teacher as well. When the kids are out of daycare, you can leave that job and just teach music lessons. I make $60 an hour teaching music lessons, and that's great, but that doesn't make up for the income that we need in order to live where we do.
Okay, but here's the thing, James. Who I have the greatest mother-in-law who's ever lived. She's amazing. And I expect my mother-in-law to give the advice that she sees fit for how she wants the world to work. I acknowledge that too. But when it comes to the life that me and my wife have to build for ourselves, she doesn't get a vote. And so your mother-in-law can say whatever she wants. Good for her. That's awesome. It's amazing. She's not the problem here. The problem here is you and your wife are not on the same page. And so it doesn't matter what your mother-in-law is saying. It matters that you look at your wife and your wife says, hey, I want to stay home. And you say, we can't afford to do that. Or we can, but here's what it's going to cost. You have to sell the car. We can't live in this particular house or in this particular neighborhood.
Yeah, and at this point, we're having to have this conversation about every 6 to 9 months or so. And I've tried showing my wife the math and that it does not work.
So, James, I'm hearing that your wife wants to stay home. If she could have it her way, she would stay home. Is that true?
I think that she gets the impression that she is working to pay for daycare and nothing else, and that once the children are out of daycare, that need might disappear.
And then she wants to stay home?
I think so. I think part of it may be a byproduct to that's the home environment that she was raised in, so she has seen it work, but that I don't think is realistic or sustainable.
I want you to reverse engineer y'all's dream that you decide together, and that might mean, okay, here's the math of it. We can't do this right now, here's why. But if she says, hey, my dream is really I want to stay home, and you want to support that dream, then you go, let's do the budget. What's it going to take? Okay, I need to do this many more music lessons. We need to do this. We need to cut our lifestyle by this to get in a financial place in order to do this. So I think she's the wow, you're the how, and you're going, we have no way to actually accomplish this. But then there's also the part of you don't want this to happen right now. So this is really, like John said, this is between you and your wife. She wants to stay home. You don't want her to stay home. And take the mother-in-law out of it.
Yeah, you keep crafting all these stories and imaginations like, well, it's probably because of this, and maybe it doesn't matter. Just forget all the story parts. Just sit down and look at the woman that you've made humans with. Look at the woman that you said, I do, till death do us part. Like, what kind of life do we want to have? What do we want this house to feel like when we get home every day?
How much are you making a year, James? Just you?
Just myself, about $60,000.
And are you doing music lessons full time?
No, mother-in-law does music.
My wife, no, she's a music teacher by trade.
Okay, what are you doing full time?
I am a program director for a medium-sized nonprofit.
Okay. So I think we also need to go, okay, if this is in the future, my wife's staying home, we're going to be a one-income family, what changes do I need to make? What education do I need to get? What career moves do I need to make in order to sustain a good life for my family? Mm-hmm. And that's the part that I think scares you, is this involves you having to change too. Or
at least it involves y'all having to have a truthful conversation about, hey, what do I want? What do I really want? I really want to work at this job. I love my nonprofit work, and I know I make half of what I could make in the for-profit world, but I feel valued and loved here. And then your wife looks across the table and says, I really want to stay at home with our kids. I see what happens in daycares. I want to be with our kids. Okay, now we have a desires challenge. Both of us are being honest. Both of us on the table. Now we're just going to look at math does not care about what we want. Math is just math. So let's look at the math problem we have here. And maybe it's for 3 years, I'm going to stay at this nonprofit, but I'm going to work an extra job so that you can stay home because I know that's important to you. And maybe it's, you know what, for 3 years, I'm going to keep working at daycare because at least I get to see the kids half the day. And we're not netting a lot of new income, but this mission that you're called to at this nonprofit is really important. But now y'all are actually talking substantively. You're being honest with one another, and you're putting your hearts and minds and souls on the table like you promised each other you would at your wedding. And your mother-in-law doesn't get a vote. But right now, when your wife says, well, my mom says that's her knowing she just tells you what she wants, you're going to blow by her with a spreadsheet. And when your wife says something and you go, well, it's just your mother-in-law speaking, that's you not being able to say, hey, I really love my work. It means something to me. Do you get what I'm saying? Let's just take mother-in-law out of the equation. Let's just talk directly with your wife. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Most of the time, you sound like actually, you sound a lot like me, brother. You sound like a spreadsheet guy. You can pull up a spreadsheet and you can make the math work, or you can be real honest about it not working. I want you to sit down with your wife and talk about emotions and feelings, which is maybe a scary thing. Here's how I feel about this. Here's what I want. I feel like your mother-in-law has a seat at our table, at dinner table. I feel like your mom has a seat in our bedroom. I don't want her in here anymore. I want it to be us. What world do we want to create?
Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life.